I'm Mark Osterkamp, Head of Client Partnerships at IMC. Today we're getting thoughts from Travis Prentice, IMC's Chief Investment Officer and Portfolio Manager, on the recent market movements as well as the momentum factor. Now, Travis, clients have been asking us recently about that market volatility and the rotation we've seen. Number one, what gives you conviction in momentum? And number two, can you talk through some of that volatility and rotation we've seen?
Yeah, surely. Yeah, I think, look, what gives us conviction in momentum overall and going forward is, well, I guess, firstly, it's historically been one of the best, if not the best, factor premiums in equity markets. So I think from a historical perspective, that lends to some conviction. But obviously, you can't buy the past. So I think what gives us conviction kind of continually in momentum going forward is that the factor in and of itself is adaptable. I think, you know, going on in the world right now, there's a lot of change, right? There seems to be a lot of disruptive change, perhaps afoot around the world. And I think what gives us great conviction and momentum is that it's adaptable. It doesn't care where the new trends may come from or what may happen in the future. It will naturally gravitate towards what's working always. And so it's a lot less rigid than some other styles of investing. And so that gives us great conviction is in the kind of always evergreen adaptability of momentum. So that's what gives us conviction. The second part of your question is what's happened this year. And so it's been a wild year for sure, no doubt about it. But I think how momentum's fared, it really depends on where you're looking. So outside the US, momentum's done pretty well. It's been a lot more smooth sailing outside the U.S. So trends that emerged kind of late last year, with Europe being very strong, that's kind of continued, and that's been a benefit for our style and momentum in general. And then Korea more recently has been a very strong source of momentum. So outside the U.S., momentum's done quite well. Inside the U.S. has been a different story. I think the U.S. has been kind of we called it the basket case, at least from a stock market perspective, of the world this year. And we've seen the market be very chaotic, very violent, a lot of reversals so far this year. So in the US, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. I think the first part of the year was tough with DeepSeek news and, upsetting the trends in technology and industrial shares. And then we had the big reversal after the tariff and the tariff pivot. So in the US, it's been a lot different than in the non-US. But again, look, I think momentum and what we do with informed momentum, I think we're always looking forward. And now we're seeing some trends start to really cement themselves in the US as well. So going forward, we have a pretty high conviction in momentum overall, but informed momentum in particular.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the biggest questions we get is what makes informed momentum informed?
Yeah, that reminds me of Office Space, the movie, right? Like when the business consultants come in and they're asking, what is it exactly you do here, would you say? Yeah, informed momentum is the philosophy and process we use to harness the power of momentum and actually produce results for our clients. So I think philosophically, from a first principle perspective, informed momentum, we believe that the highest expression of momentum investing is, yes, investing in stock prices that are outperforming, but that is buttressed by businesses doing well. So it's a confluence of both price momentum and business momentum. But then more than that, a little bit of more specifically, informed momentum starts with momentum. So we believe momentum works, but we believe momentum works better with rationale. So key reasons behind, why that momentum exists in the first place. And then lastly, we think momentum done well is a full contact trench warfare type of sport. And so managing risk and risk management is the last piece of informed momentum, and we do that every day. So informed momentum really means starting with momentum, what works, adding rationale, and then risk management in an everyday basis to kind of elevate momentum and translate the theory of momentum investing, the premium, the academic premium, into actual real world results and practice for our clients.
So you mentioned trends, you mentioned rationale, and as you know, we recently started publishing Rising Tides on our website. Rising Tides is really highlights where our process is picking up momentum. Can you talk a little bit about some recent examples, and I think more important, incorporate some of the rationale that we've seen?
Yeah, sure. Momentum is the ever rising tide. So we're having fun with the rising tides piece of what we're sharing with our clients, and it just reflects where we're seeing, broad themes from the bottom up, with our stock by stock research that we're doing every day as a team. So we're having fun with it, to identify some of these themes that are a little bit more nuanced or maybe not as mainstream. So, we've done everything from, kind of country performance, like Israel being, very strong recently, Korea as well, but also more industrial themes like what we're seeing in drones, what we're seeing in the rise of kid adults and its impact on global toy industry, with Pop Mart and Labubu and all that stuff. So we're having fun with it. But I think it really reflects kind of our philosophy, right? Which is companies that are doing well, businesses that are doing well, stock prices that are outperforming, and then going under the hood and trying to realize why that is, right? And so I think, as an example, the drone industry is probably the best example where, we're seeing, stock by stock companies that are participating in this industry really have very strong order intake, very strong backlogs, very strong momentum in terms of their business fundamentals. And then the reasons why, we all know it's, is being increasingly the way that wars are fought, unfortunately. But also we're seeing very strong legislative strength behind it, particularly in the U.S. with, the big, beautiful bill really putting the global drone and U.S. drone industry, on the front foot. So they're really focusing on that as the kind of next investment in technology in the military. So that's a good example of, prices reflecting momentum and then taking those stock by stock opportunities and identifying those broad trends.
So what excites you most about IMC going forward, like say next 12 to 18 months?
Yeah, what excites us most is performing for our clients, and that's continual, right? So every day, every month, every quarter, that's our dedication. The dedication to our craft to put up the results over time. And, we realize it's not going to work all the time, but over time, we think we're always putting our clients' assets on the right side of trend and momentum, and we think that will pay over the long term. So that's what always gets us excited. But secondarily, I think going forward, I think what makes us most excited as a business is that, we're emerging as the true momentum solution provider. And what I mean by that is that we now have a product lineup available to our clients that allows them to use the utility of our process, the utility of momentum in general, across their entire equity portfolio, whether it be, mid, large, small, global, EM, or US. Now we have the total product lineup that really allows us to be that, momentum solution provider.
Yeah. So thinking about those products, I mean, I think this is another question we get a good amount is what benchmark is best for our strategies? And you think about moving up cap and the direction we're going, what advice would you provide?
Yeah, it's a great question because, we don't really have a kind of defined benchmark that really reflects, what we do because we're not core, we're not growth, and we're not value, right? We're momentum investors. So from that perspective, there's not a perfect index, and maybe there never is for any any investment style. But having said that, I think a benchmark selection should reflect, how you're using our products or how you're using momentum. So from that perspective, I think a core index, right? That's a broad representation of our selection universe, is a good choice, and it reflects the kind of alpha satellite nature of what we do. And then I think probably secondarily would be a growth index where, we're utilized as an offset to value, but also a substitute to growth investing. So I think it just reflects, how our clients use us. So any one of those indexes is fine with us. We believe that our approach will outperform all of them over time. But I would think it just has to do with how our clients are utilizing, our process in their broader portfolio.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Travis. Appreciate the thoughts today.